A few weeks ago, I found myself unable to get out of bed. The idea of starting my day, doing all of the things that needed to be done to help my family function, actually seemed physically impossible. I was radiating anxiety. It was humming out of every part of me, and I couldn't shake it off. By the time I finally talked myself into slowly getting up, everything useful I could have done, making breakfasts or lunches, walking dogs, waking up children, or getting them dressed, had been taken care of by my partner. Maybe it was his competence at a time I felt so useless, but I found myself anchored to him. If I could be next to him, everything would be okay and my anxiety would retreat. I followed him like a puppy around the house, and as he started to get the kids in the car for drop-off, another surge of panic came over me. It felt like fear. I have an acute memory of watching Army of Darkness with my brother and sister when we were younger, when the power went off. It was getting to be dusk and our parents were out somewhere. We were old enough to be left alone. I was probably 12, which would have made my sister 14 and my brother 9. But the incoming night and the movie combined got us worked up enough that none of us wanted to go to the bathroom, located up the stairs past a windowless hall, alone. So we all went together, agreeing that for privacy, 2 of us would get in the shower with the curtain drawn while the third peed. I don't remember where we were in the lineup when we heard a faint scratching at the bathroom door. I could feel a tension coming up through me as I tried to rationalize that there was an explanation that didn't include the undead coming for us, but as my siblings and I worked each other up, I got further away from reason. We decided on a plan. We'd run outside together, regrouping on the front lawn. In a silent count of 3, I flung the door open and blindly went racing down the stairs and out the front door. When I got to the lawn, I was alone. The light was leaving the sky and it was quiet. Where were my siblings? I stood there, unsure of what to do. Should I go back for them? What if they were in danger? What if it was too late and they'd already been murdered and going back in would cause my death too? What if the thing that was after us wanted to isolate me in the yard and was coming for me right then? Terrified, I went back inside, only to find the power back on and my sister and brother circling my mom, who was apologetically laughing at the panic she caused. And that's exactly what it was, panic. The blind terror that worked its way through my limbs, causing me first to run and then to be rooted to one spot, was panic. As I was watching my partner leave, just as he did every day, I felt that same panic, and I insisted on going with him. I thought that maybe I could regain enough calm from being with him to make it to my home office when we got home, but as we approached the house, another wave started to rise, though the first hadn't subsided yet. I felt helpless. Close to tears, I sent an email calling in sick and didn't leave my partner's side all day. I clung to his hand, his arm, any part of him I could touch, and the panic did loosen, but it was still there, just below the surface. I hoped that this was a one-day phenomenon, that a night of sleeping cuddled up next to my 5-year-old's warm body and deep breathing would regulate me, but it didn't. The next day, I couldn't make it out of bed at all. As I lay paralyzed by the ball of anxiety radiating out of my stomach to my limbs, I was so angry with myself. Why couldn't I function? Why couldn't I just make myself get up? I could feel all of the work that I need to do when I got back piling up, creating more fear, which made it impossible for me to move. Until that day, I'd always been able to manage my anxiety. I could even use it to my advantage to drive me to be more productive, but now I was stalled. Over the next few days, I slowly forced myself back to work. I found a way to cope by staying in bed, canceling meetings, and just doing the work that doesn't require me to interact with others. I was then able to take a few meetings, still from my bed and with my camera off, but getting some things done. After talking to my psychiatrist about my level of anxiety, we decided that I should take some time off. He recommended immediately, but I couldn't let my team down even more by handing them a flaming pile of work that was both urgent and that no one had time to do. So I worked out with my manager a plan that I'd go on leave in 2 weeks for a month. I started that month off this week, and I'm determined to use it to understand my anxiety better and maybe come up with some coping techniques that can help me going forward. One way that my anxiety has always manifested is through rumination. I go over and over events, thinking through all of the different things I could have said, replaying the past and imagining versions of conversations I might have in the future. Sometimes I need to write them down, and I imagine it as individual knots draining from my body and mind through my fingers and onto the page. I'm doing that now, in fact. I woke up suddenly at 5 a.m. with my mind swirling, feeling stuck on how to start this project, and I couldn't get back to sleep. I started writing it down. A place to begin this journey, even though it's not really the beginning, and I have no idea where it will end up. What I do know is this. Mental illness runs in my family, and my family are mostly high-functioning individuals. I have a theory that talking to them about all of this may help me better understand myself. Maybe it will give me new coping strategies. Maybe it will get me out of my own head long enough to have concrete compassion for the invisible struggles that I know others are suffering and help me settle back into the real world. Or maybe it will make things worse. I'm not sure, but I want to be honest with myself about it as best as I can, which is why I'm recording.